Good morning. This week's devotion is Even for Those Who Betrayed Him. Today is the Wednesday of Holy Week. Oddly enough, they rearranged the order of the John lessons, so technically today's lesson comes between the two lectionary readings for Maundy, Thursday, tomorrow. So this is taking place at the table where Jesus ate his Last Supper with his disciples. The theme is Judas's betrayal. Listen to John 13, verses 21 through 30. After saying this, Jesus was troubled in spirit and declared, "Very truly, I tell you, one of you will betray me." The disciples looked at one another, uncertain of whom he was speaking. One of the disciples, the one whom Jesus loved, was reclining close to his heart. Simon Peter therefore motioned for him to ask Jesus of whom he was speaking. So while reclining next to Jesus, he asked him, "Lord, who is it?" Jesus answered, "It is the one whom I give this piece of bread when I have dipped it in the dish." So when he dipped the piece of bread, he gave it to Judas, son of Simon Iscariot. After he received the piece of bread, Satan entered into him. Jesus said to him, "Do quickly what you're going to do." Now, no one knew why he said this to him. But some thought because Judas had the common purse, Jesus was telling him to buy what they needed for the festival, or that he should give something to the poor. So after receiving the piece of bread, he immediately went out, and it was night. Judas was one of his disciples. Jesus had lived with him day in and day out for 3 years. He was a friend and companion. Now, whether you believe the theory that Judas was trying to force Jesus' hand by creating a conflict with the authorities so that Jesus would use his power to become king, or whether you believe that it was predestined and Judas had no choice, or that Judas was fed up with Jesus' pacifism, or even if you believe he was just greedy. The betrayal had to hurt Jesus. And it hurt Judas too. Matthew 27:5 tells us that Judas tried to undo what he had done when he realized they intended to kill Jesus. He threw the silver back at him, and then he hung himself. Some say that because of that, Judas was condemned. But immediately after predicting the betrayal, Jesus gave his last commandment for us, to love one another as Jesus loved us. Jesus loved Judas. Now from the cross, Jesus asked his Father to forgive the ones who were crucifying him, even though they showed no remorse. He forgave the thief on the cross next to him. Don't you think that if Jesus forgave these strangers, even those who were unrepentant, that he could forgive his beloved disciple and friend, who was so remorseful for his sin that he could no longer live with it? To the very end, Jesus' last words were about love and forgiveness. The whole reason he came was to pay for our sins. Sometimes we may think our sins are so bad that Jesus could never forgive us, or that Jesus must not love us anymore. But Holy Week holds the proof that that is not true. We can always bring our failures and sins to Jesus. Jesus is waiting with open arms, wide open, to welcome us home like the prodigal son. Jesus has more than enough love and forgiveness for all who call upon his name. That is what this week is about, that God so loved our fallen and sinful world that he gave his only begotten Son. Thanks be to God. Have a blessed week.